Hello and good evening, my friends. This is Isaiah, and you are here. Subject I want to talk about today is kind of changed midstream. It's the first time I've ever done this. We're going to have a part two to what I discussed yesterday, the reptilian brain, reptilian mind concept. Was inspired to do a part two because I woke up this morning having a ton of synchronicities about the reptilian mind, and I developed slightly new insight in what I was experiencing as far as the reptilian mind. And I kind of wanted to go into a little bit more detail on that topic. So I switched the video today from the subject of perception, which we will be going on. I'll probably be doing that one next. I'm still going to do the video on perception, but this is part two of the reptilian brain. So basically, to summarize or recap what we discussed yesterday about the reptilian mind is, scientifically speaking, the reptilian brain is the part of your body. It kind of regulates your what's called your autonomic nervous system, the systems that keep you alive, such as your lungs, your heart, blood pumping, all the automatic processes that the body has to engage in on a daily basis that we don't have conscious control over. Excuse me. But what are some other things? See, I had mentioned that the reptilian mind and subconscious work hand in hand, and it also works in hand with the egoic mind, or the egoic perspective, to which I will be in the future at some point be doing a video discussing just the ego by itself. But I wanted to just really, the purpose of this part two video is just to make sure that everyone has a firm grasp on this. We are two entities in one. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I don't promote the idea of separateness, as I believe in one. We are all one energy, one consciousness that we all share for a time. But what I mean when I say that we're also two, there's two parts that make us up. We have our higher perspective, our higher self, which is the soul or higher self, to whichever philosophy or ideology on that you subscribe to. And I think most everyone, regardless of their background or their views on spirituality or religion or any sort of philosophical idea like that, I feel like most people, for the most part, know that there's something more, that there's a higher aspect of ourselves. Just you may not have a name for it, or you may not fully understand what that is. Then the second stage that makes us up is this human body, the vehicle, the brain, nervous system, our senses, everything that the body is. It's a third dimensional, flesh and bone, living organism all in its own right. The human body has its own desires, its own thoughts, its own things that it wants to do. It has an agenda, so to speak. Its primary agenda is to keep us safe and to keep us alive. That's why the brain sets up habits. The brain typically, for most people, likes structure. But that's a good thing and that's a bad thing. I mean, because we all want to be safe and we all want to be comfortable, but it's more often than not, especially in today's society, the reptilian brain, the reptilian mind is kind of a hindrance to us. Let me explain why. Because it, as I stated earlier, works in conjunction with the subconscious, which that's where our beliefs are held. That's where all of our perspectives are locked away based on past experiences. So the reptilian mind will use that information and oftentimes discourage us from doing something that's going to take us outside of our zone of comfortability, or comfort zone. I don't know why I had to be so complicated when I said that, but it keeps you comfortable and safe. And that's where the reptilian brain wants you to stay, is comfortable, safe. Don't do anything out of the ordinary. Don't do anything unpredictable, okay? Well, when I make these videos, more often than not, I go back into them, I go back into them when I'm editing and doing different things. And I find myself gaining insight in some of the things that I'm saying. I'm speaking to myself sometimes just as much as I am speaking to you guys. I don't ever speak at anyone. I just kind of talk and share my experiences that's helped lead me to where I'm at. And this one, I made this video yesterday, put it out there for you guys, and then I kind of kept thinking about it in the back of my head. And I woke up this morning and I'd still kind of had this, idea in my mind of what I just talked about, the reptilian mind, reptilian brain. And it caused me to really take notice, to really go introspectively and define the two within my own being so that it could make sense to me, so that it clicked, so to speak. That's what I hope each one of you experience with this. I think the reptilian mind is all of our bad habits as well as our good habits. I mean, if you can't figure out why you're having a hard time giving up a habit, it's more than likely because the automatic brain, reptilian mind, is conditioned to partake in whatever habit that it is that you're wanting to get rid of. Or it's that voice in our head that tells us that, that we can't do something or that we can't succeed at something because it's unlike anything that we've ever done before. It keeps us away from change. And I just really got to thinking about it, and I'm like, there's a ton of things that I'm doing every single day that I've created a story around that I struggle with, when I don't really struggle with it. It's just my body doing its thing. It's natural. It's my brain doing its thing. Well, so how do you get it to stop? How do you retrain it? And I mentioned this in the habits video. Think of it, you need to objectify the reptilian mind. You need to objectify that side of yourself and make it a separate entity in your mental perspective. You need to think there's the real me that's timeless, that's still, that's in the background, that's observing the thoughts, that's aware of everything that's happening, that feels intuition, that cares for others, that has a drive to do something that's beyond yourself. That's your higher aspect, that's your higher self. And then there's that side of you that wants to be complacent, comfortable, doesn't want you to take the chances, and is usually causing trouble or causing you to have certain feelings that are not of your own. That's another thing that kind of clicked in my brain, was there's things that I've done in my life that I looked back in hindsight and was like, man, why did I do that? And I got thinking, it was a reptilian brain. It wasn't me at all. I didn't want to do it, but I was overtaken by whatever it was at the time that I wanted to do, that was maybe a lack of good judgment in that moment. The reptilian mind has cravings, and it wants to do things sometimes that so badly that, it just kind of takes over and it goes forth. And for many of us, that's all we know how to do. We just know how to listen to the reptilian mind. We're so stuck in our habits and bad decision making that we just kind of sat here, and it takes over and it runs our life. And oftentimes, if we're not careful, if we don't have this reptilian mind, our subconscious trained, yes, I said trained, programmed to do what we need it to do in order to serve us, it's not going to serve us. Let me say that again. We don't have our reptilian mind and our subconscious mind programmed, trained to do what we need it to do. It's to serve us. it's not going to serve us. It's going to do what it wants. It's going to be like a child or a wild animal just out surviving and just getting by and doing things. So we have to exercise mindfulness. We have to do things that are out of the norm to serve not only ourselves, but our fellow man. We have to do things that may seem at times uncharacteristic for us, but if it's going to better us and help us in our own natural conscious evolution, those are the things we need to pursue. And over time, those things, these new experiences that we find will come to serve us, will become a habit, and they will take the place of all the bad habits and the bad modalities that we've allowed the reptilian brain to partake in. Brain's a supercomputer, folks. One of the most powerful supercomputers on the planet is right here, and it can be programmed. It very much can. It just takes persistent day in and day out, a willingness to make the right choices and to take the right actions. Well, I think that's about all I've got for you today, folks. Again, on the part 2 of the Reptilian Mind, I got to really thinking about that and was just like, you know what? That would explain why in the past there's things that I've done or I've partaken in long ago that I didn't always want to, is because of this. When I wake up in the morning and I'm like, 5 more minutes, just want to stay in bed. That's not me saying 5 more minutes, just want to stay in bed. That's the reptilian brain. My higher aspect knows that I need to get up, go to the gym, take my time, go about my day with grace, and not be so rushed to get things done. Your higher state of being, your higher state of consciousness knows what you need. And it's always trying to urge you to do the right things unless you never listen to it. Whichever of the two that you're feeding becomes stronger. If you're living an autopilot life, that's going to be your strongest modality. If you're living a life that serves you and is for the betterment of yourself and your fellow man, that's going to be the strongest part of your modality. The two modalities are always going to exist in the brain. It's whichever one you feed the most. I can't quote it, but there was a Native American proverb, I believe, that talks about a story. It's the tale of two wolves, and whichever wolf you feed the most becomes the strongest. And in that story, there was the dark wolf and the white wolf, yin and yang, the duality there of good and evil. Whichever you feed, whichever you exercise the most, is the one that will become the strongest. So just remember that the next time you go to do something that you're just beating yourself up for, or the next time you go to do something where just a habit or a craving or an addiction takes you over and you can't figure out why, because you know you want to quit, your higher self wants to quit, but there's something in you that's just you can't resist. That you can't resist because you have a strong reptile brain. You have a strong autonomic nervous system. You have a strong subconscious. It's not you. It's this machine. And you need to focus on getting the machine to do what you want it to. I hope that you're having just a wonderful day, and that all the experiences that you're having today and for the rest of your life serve you in order for you to grow and evolve, but also make you just blissfully happy at the same time. And I hope that you have much peace in your mind, much love in your heart, much balance in your soul. Till next time, my friends.